In my book, Awaken Your Wealth, um, I talk about that we have different ways that we plug into the world. We plug into the world in terms of whether we're poor, considered poor, or we're a debtor, or we're a dreamer, an accumulator, or what I would call rich but empty. And then anyone can embody what I call real wealth. Hey everybody, Julie Murphy here, and I am here to talk to you about how friendly are you with your money? Really? Friendship and money? Interesting combo, isn't it? Well, it seems to be coming up a lot lately across my client base, so I thought I would do a video about it so that you can reflect on it yourself as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, and notification bell. Why? Because I am going to help you get to a life that you absolutely love. We just need to take it one step at a time. So here, let's dive into this. So if you could take a look at what is your relationship with money? Now, it could be, and I want you to think of it, don't think of it as like money itself, but think of it like if money was a human being, is it like another life form, like an alien to you? Or is it like, oh, we're besties? Because however you perceive your relationship with money, which might be your truth, but I do want to hit the caveat that this is how you perceive your relationship with money. And I say that because we as human beings create storylines. So, like, my storyline is, well, I always do the responsible thing, the logical thing, and I have all my ducks in the row. And then you add in the side of me that's the perfectionist, and how all that starts to compound and grow and yada, yada, yada. It's super fascinating to me that when we start to realize that whatever our perception is actually is what creates our reality. This is what's super interesting. We don't realize how whatever it is that we are pushing out there actually is what we're creating. Right? So let's take money out of the equation here so I can get you to see this maybe in a different way. So if you sit there and you start to tell yourself, like, oh, I'm starting to get this pain in my body, like you're feeling a pain, what do we naturally do? I talked about this with my group coaching clients today. And we were talking about the fact that when you think of, oh my God, there's pain in my body, pain in my body, pain in my body, then what happens? We start to worry, right? We go into our head. Well, what could that mean? How does this happen? And what does this do? This is where the storyline starts to create. All right. So I think it's super important that even though you get pain, let's just say like you're getting a lump in your throat, right? It starts with a lump. You're like, ugh, that's your throat chakra. So I start to ask people going, where are you not using your voice where you want to use your voice? Or you're like, you have fear and it's coming up as a lump in your throat. Well, when we worry too much about that throat and like, could it be this? Could it be that? Could it? That's actually the vibration. That worry and that fear is the vibration that actually creates the throat to go down a path to create more illness and sickness in that area of body. So these days, it's almost like, think of it when you've been going in your life in this direction and you're realizing going, okay, I don't want to do that. But that mud gets thicker and thicker and thicker. The older you get, it's harder and harder to change those limiting beliefs and those patterns because those grooves have gotten deeper and deeper in your head. And then at some juncture, you then manifest some disease. And then it's like quicksand. It's like, whoa, because it's years and years of buildup of telling a story a certain way or having a perception of a certain way that then actually is what creates reality. we have to understand that when it comes to our money, if you have a story, I always talk about, in my book, Awaken Your Wealth, um, I talk about that we have different ways that we plug into the world. We plug into the world in terms of whether we're poor, considered poor, or we're a debtor, or we're a dreamer, an accumulator, or what I would call rich but empty. And then anyone can embody what I call real wealth. But if we're plugged into the story, let's just say we grew up in a community where people were struggling. I'm going to use me as an example. I grew up in a blue collar neighborhood where my dad was an electrician, mom was a school teacher till she had 12 children, and everybody worked super hard for a living. But it was always about like, we got to fundraise for this, we got to do this for that, and so it was always like not enough. There was never enough money, right? Or just enough. And then what I started to realize when I was first building my business, over 20 years ago, that, oh my gosh, I would make business decisions that then would create me always having just enough. And it was always like, oh, I want to get to the place where I've got just $1,000,000 in the bank where there's always enough and it's abundant. But the thing is if you don't change your perception and you don't change how you plug into the world and you don't change your relationship with money, from the one that hardwired into your subconscious mind before you were age 7, you're not going to have a different outcome. You're not. Because it's the wiring of your amygdala, your subconscious mind. And this is all the research done by Dr. Bruce Lipton and the biology belief. We have to understand that what we're putting out there in terms of our story, that and our perception, then becomes our reality. So let's just say you and money are best friends. Like, oh yeah, it always comes in. I've never, my entire life, ever thought that I was ever going to fail at generating anything that I needed to generate. I just don't have that fear. And I was always the top salesperson in my grammar school. They loved being I would sell the most taffy apples for the band. We'd always give pizza parties, the sales kit at the Catholic grade school. I had all that stuff. Everybody loved me in my classroom because we won all the parties. Because I just always knew I was always going to generate it. I'm a generator, right? That's just who I am. And that was the same way with my business. I always generated enough for myself and anyone that I loved. I'm a generator. So that has always been my relationship with money. It was just kind of like, all right, come on, let's go. And it just keeps coming. And I always know that I'm like, oh, the more you get, the more you share, the more, not that you give it away, but that you seed people to launch themselves as well. It's like my perception is, oh, well, the more I give, the more I get. And that's always been true. So what's your relationship and your friendship with money? So let's just say that you think money is dark, that money is just like the root of all evil. Well, I'll bet you struggle with it. I would also bet that you do a dance with debt, because that dance with debt is keeping it in the dark side, right? I had someone that I met who absolutely loves the work that they do in the world, but yet there's a part of them that is ashamed of doing this work because their family would completely judge this kind of work that they're doing in the world. And so they literally had a bag and had that bag hidden in their closet with the money that they made from that extra side job. And you know how many times I've seen that? I was in somebody's office one time and they literally pulled open a drawer and had an extra compartment in the back of the drawer, and that's where they stuck the money. It was just like, it's not that they were trying to hide it. It was just that there was this shame and this guilt, and they have this dark side of money. I have other videos on that, on the dark side of money, of how you can unpack that more. So take a look at some of my other videos when I talk about your shadow and your dark side of money. But we have to understand that it's the stories we tell ourselves. It's the perception. It's whether the love or the hate that we have for money. So take some time, take a pen to paper. Maybe you just sit there and go, put your hand on your heart and say, close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Blow it out. What is my relationship with money? Are we besties or are we arch enemies? And then take the opportunity to write that down. Like, what does that arch enemy relationship look like? Like, what is it? Get it out of you. Get it out. Put it down to paper. Write it down going, oh, or like, oh my God, it always shows up for me. It's always there when I need it. It's always there. And you might be in between. You might be, I wrote down here, like, your money relationship might be, well, you're kind of a peer or a colleague of mine. But you know what? I see you. I like you, but I'm not going to get too close. Well, guess what? That's exactly what your bonuses are going to look like at work. That's exactly how the jobs are going to show up for you at work. That's exactly, like, we have to understand, like, whatever that is, that's how it's showing up. Because you are reflecting that out. And so the only thing that can come back to you, because we live in a holographic world, holographic universe, and Greg Braden has great videos on that. About how we live in a holographic world, that whatever is on the inside of you is what is coming back to you, because it's like a mirror. I need you to think of it like a mirror. Like, it's all just reflecting back exactly. So if somebody's a jerk to you, then the question is how are you being a jerk in life to other people? Because as soon as you let go of your inner jerk, then guess what? All the other jerks will stop showing up in your life. The same thing is true with money. And I know that sounds simple, but the science has already proved it. It's all quantum physics. And if you're a left brainer and you need to go prove it to yourself, well, go watch Greg Braden's science videos on those kind of things in the quantum physics. Maybe money's not your relationship with money is not a peer or a colleague. Maybe you're even a little bit more distant. You're like, well, you're an acquaintance, or you're kind of like my parents. You tell me if I can or I can't. You're judging me. So then, how are you showing up in the world to other people? Are you showing up as a parent to other people and judging them and telling them they can and they can't? Well, this is how money's showing up for you. Are you a sibling where it's kind of like you have this love-hate relationship, right? It could be like a sibling. And here's what's most important in this exercise that I want you to do is I want you to write it all down of, like, if it's a sibling, like, how does that sibling make you feel? How does money make you feel? But I am going to add that nobody or nothing can make you feel any way. You are in charge of those feelings. So if you have this relationship, like, money is outside of yourself and it's doing this to me, then that's a sign that you're resonating with financial scarcity and not abundance. And so after you write down what it is that your friendship and your relationship with money is, then I want you to take it on that, what would I like my relationship with money to be? How do I want to interface with money? And then start to catch yourself, because remember, what you think, what you speak, and what you feel is the vibration going out to the world. So if you shift from your current relationship and friendship with money to the list that you desire in money, like, I want money to always be there for me. I always want to be able to count on my money. I want it to be in abundance, and I want so much that I never even have to worry about it because it's there. Now remember, this is not going to change overnight. You have spent years doing it this way, and now I need you to plug in this way. Like, are you holding the financial container for other people and you need to hand their financial container back to them? It's okay. Know that there might be pushback, because guess what? They love you showing up the way that you've been showing up. But you're like a leaky container when it comes to your money. It's just leaking out the back door. Even though you're generating, it's leaking out the back door. Remember, money's energy. It doesn't matter that it leaks out. The question is, do you like where it's leaking? And is that the life you want to live? And if it's not, well, then guess what? Take a look, plug the hole, and redirect it, right? It's kind of like redirecting water. How do you want your money to flow? All right. Well, I hope these tips have certainly helped you today. And do me a favor, go to juliemurphy.com. I do group coaching, and I'll be opening up a new one for new people every quarter. If you go to juliemurphy.com, you'll not only get some great tips a couple times a week, but also join the community, because it's time for us all to thrive. There is more than enough for all of us. And again, you can go to awakenyourwealthbook.com. You can get my book for free, and you just have to pay for your own shipping. And it's time for you to live a life that you love. And I'm ready to help launch you. Let's go. Here we go.